And we are actually going to show you different things for use at home to help your child's sensory diet. But first, let's watch a quick video from our sponsor, Lackey Kid.
Fidget tool. If you got a kid that really struggles with keeping their hands to themselves, this is awesome. This is a marble maze. So they sewed a maze in here, and let me see if I can find the marble. Oh, it's right here in the piece. So you're gonna push it along, squeeze it out, and go along the maze. And I can attest to this being really fun and kind of addicting in a good way. It keeps your hands busy. It keeps you wanting to do stuff. Each side has kind of a different texture to it, so those tactile seekers are really gonna enjoy it. It's also, believe it or not, proprioceptive input as you squeeze that ball along, because it's kind of tight. It's doable, but it's tight.
Okay, so I want to welcome all of you back to today's show. I am so excited. We are here with Matt. I want to welcome everyone. Melissa, Melinda, hi and welcome. I can't wait to do today's show with you. I want to thank you all for joining us. As you know, this month we have really been focusing on a sensory diet. And today I am lucky enough that Matt is on the show with us with his two sons, Willie and Reggie. Oh, there is Willie right there. And Matt. Oh, and there's Reggie on the other side. So, Matt, I'm going to kind of give it to you and see what you got to say.
Okay, this should be interesting. I got my two boys. So, Jenn and I have been talking about a sensory diet. This should be really great. This is going to be organized chaos. So my boys just came home from school. Okay, we've been talking about doing sensory diets, what they are, and what how they actually work. Oh, no, grab my food, please. And things you can do to incorporate into your sensory diet. So my boys been in school all day, so they've been getting off the. They didn't take the bus; they actually picked them up. But normally they come home on the bus, and a lot of times when my guys come home, what I like to do is like to give them a lot of movement. So before we start, just I think it's important to know your kiddo's sensory needs, and that's always going to help you kind of build your sensory diet. I know my guys. I think of it as like getting the wiggles out. So I'll set up some swings. I have the benefit of having a sensory gym in my house, so that's cool. Not everybody has that. So what I'm going to show you is most of the stuff you can do from your house.
I'm Willie.
Oh yeah, it's Willie and this is Reggie. Most of the stuff you'll be able to do in your house. I do have some things I have from suspension just to kind of show a point. But so if you have a swing, this is one thing you can do, whether it's inside the house or outside, whatever. It's a great way to get a lot of that vestibular input. Again, this goes back to knowing your kid. Maybe this isn't the activity, but getting movement. I see a more often than none. After school, kids just need to either decompress and like cut all stuff out, or just kind of get it all out. So this is a great way to get it all out. Okay. If you don't have a swing, it doesn't have to be this. So I'm gonna use my see how well this works. All right, freeze. Okay, hop on your nuts. Hop on your nuts. Oh, good job, boys. All right.
I'm dizzy. Yeah, I'm dizzy.
Okay.
That's why I'm
So getting the vestibular input, remember, is getting that head to move, right? So anyways, like, see you guys do a couple of somersaults. Somersaults. Whoa. Somersaults. Go back.
Whoa.
Go back. Log rolls. Let's see some log rolls.
Mom,
Oh, gosh.
basically just normal rolling, right?
It's a normal roll. That's right, buddy. Then roll back. Roll back. Okay. So there's, no equipment. You can just do whatever. It's just getting that head to move is looking for that. Here I got some Lackey Kid balance balls. I like to turn them upside down. Let's see you guys do some bouncing.
Daddy,
Yeah.
Daddy, can I have the black one that has a handle?
It's right here, bud. You want that
But
one?
Daddy, we used to do this in kindergarten. This
Oh.
is why I invented this.
You invented it. Yes, you invented it.
Remember?
So again, just some ways to get a lot of input. They're getting a lot of that. That vertical bouncing is a great way to get in. All right, go back that way. Okay. Okay. And if you don't have Lackey Kid balls or a yoga ball or a bouncy ball or even a place to roll, just run and crash is an awesome way to do that. Freeze! Can you guys chuck your balls over there? Sweet. Okay. Let's see. Stand over here. Give me a line right here. Give me a line right here. You're gonna run one at a time.
Where?
Wait, oh, sorry. Back up. Willie first. Then run, and crash. Boom! Come on back. Ready? Go. Run and crash. Run, turn around. Come around the other way. Ready? Crash. Oh, watch the next. Boom! Maybe not somersault. So you guys keep doing that. So running and crashing, you can do, into your couch, off your couch. So this is a great way to get vestibular input. As you can tell, vestibular input, body move, my alert level goes up. So I'm going to try to bring it down in a second here. So let's see. Generally, if I kind of want to start pacing them, I'm going to add some weight. Okay. All right, freeze. Get on your nuts. All right, good job, boys. So moving weight is getting that program. I'm picking up weight, and it's going to kind of help pace me. Here, everyone grab a ball.
Where's my ball?
There you go. Boom. All right. See you guys. Squat and throw it. There you go. Maybe not into the computer. Come on back. That's okay. I guess I asked for that. Oh, come on back. Willie, this way. Come over here. Go that way. There you go. Throw it. Maybe not into your brother. Hang on. Wait. Watch out. And chaos. So normally, I don't try to have both these guys down here at the same time, but I kind of wanted to show you. Not having both my kids at the same time is unrealistic. So most people have more than one kid, so this is the chaos, and you do your best to kind of embrace the chaos, I guess. All right.
And most of our members have multiple children, so realistically, you're showing what a day in our life is like.
And this is a typical afternoon, right? After school. All right. So, and you're kicking, that's a great, just kicking the ball around, moving weight, getting some of that input. All right, let's see. So now I'm going to try to do some teamwork stuff, but we'll see what happens. All right, let's see. All right. Okay, Willie, hop inside there. Okay, curl it up. Ready to see you pull him around. And do you mind pulling him around? I'm going to put your fingers in the. So I like to use Lycra. Lycra's great. Lycra gives it squeezes back. So as you push, it pushes back. It's awesome. I like to suspend it from the ceiling, but it doesn't have to be like that. For instance, see if you can drag him down there, dude. I just got my little guy in the Lycra, and it's just a sheet, and it could be a bed sheet if you don't have Lycra. So Willie's getting a lot of deep squeeze, and Reggie's getting a lot of heavy work. All right, and if it's maybe I have two sheets and I'm pulling them both, and I'm just able to drag them back and forth. And right now they're a little excited because they're on TV and they're on the spot. But normally this is a fun activity, and when usually the little guy, when he's in that Lycra, he just kind of calms right down. It's pretty cool. So kind of doing it now. Cool. So that's getting a lot of prop. This is again getting some tactile. I would, if you can, get their shoes off, and if they're inside, like if you're doing some deep squeezes, or even if I have the big heavy pillows in them, squishing them under there, take their shirt, get as much skin contact with the fabric or the texture as much as possible. That helps with getting that tactile input. All right, freeze. Good job, guys. Hop on there. All right. Another way to get good. Is it working? Another way to get good proprioception is traction. Traction is just hanging from stuff. So let's see. Here you go, guys. Let's put Willie on that one. Put Reggie on that one. Please don't run into each other.
Can we run into each other?
No, do not run into each other, please. So you'll see a lot of kids at the playground kind of seek this one out. Because when I'm pulling, I'm hanging, I'm getting a lot of that input through my joints,
Yeah, Lego.
my shoulder joints and my wrist joints and my fingers. And it's a great way to get input.
This is a Lego.
Yeah, use your Lego hands. Yeah. If you can, cue them this way. So you'll see a lot of kids kind of hold the you see a lot of kids kind of hold the rod this way. If you can, cue them that way, right? Because then I'm working on some grip strength as well.
So
But
the C shape is more effective than a thumb over.
correct. I mean, so you're building that web space grip, right? So a lot of our kids kind of have a low thumb. Well, then this is why we have Max. Are you okay?
Yeah.
All right, they're a little bit more safety conscious than this, but right. So if I'm holding it this way, it's not as hard. And if I can cue my kids that way, great. That's why I'll try to have ropes or something where they have to hang on like that, vertical as opposed to horizontal. If that makes sense. Okay. So our energy's kind of coming low. I'm kind of reading their energy, so I'm gonna move on to some oral motor stuff. Are you okay? You can just take a minute. Yeah, I'm gonna hang on there for a second. All right. So oral motor. Oral motor is an awesome. I'm gonna have you guys back up a little bit. Willie, I'm gonna have to take that down. All right. Can you guys see over there?
Yeah, we can.
All right. So come on over here, Willie. This one's yours.
Oh, you blow on this. You blow in this.
So this one's yours.
Yeah.
So this is just a jug of soapy water, and I have it in a 5-gallon water jug. I've used a milk jug. It doesn't really matter. Or it could just be a bowl, and it's just soap and water. Oral motor is a great way to work to help with regulation as they're getting a lot of input into their mouth. I'm working on pursed lip breathing. Right? I'm working on lip seal. I'm working on diaphragmatic breathing. I'm working on strengthening my diaphragm. Works on core. I'm working on strengthening my eyes. Sorry. I forgot we're talking about a sensory diet. I start to dive deep. So this is a really good calm down activity, doing some oral motor stuff. When you hear that hum, they start doing that hum. That's like extra input. So that's pretty cool. This is easy to make. You can make this, like I said, out of a straw and a bowl of water. If you want to make it really cool, you can put some food color in it and make it a volcano or whatever.
Matt, what I'll probably get you to do is maybe later this week you can walk us through a quick demo video on how to build one for our kids.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy. I just drilled a hole in this one. That's it, and I got some tubes. It's pretty easy. And
They
like I
were
said,
very content.
yeah, yeah. And as you can see, it's kind of so. But some kids don't like this because it's hard.
Right.
It might be low tone in their mouth or difficulty with breathing. I'll have kids cough after they do it because it's so their lungs it's working their lungs a lot. Motor planning, if they have difficulty motor planning, maybe you'll see kids drink it, and that it's not the end of the world if they drink some soap. Maybe they get a little sore tummy or get the poops or something, but it's not going to hurt them, right? So they'll usually do it once and then kind of after that. So can I have you guys try something else?
It was not up there yet.
Oh, pardon me. So
They have a goal in mind.
they have a goal in mind, yeah. And also having their eyes fixed on an object. Before we're just kind of running around and kind of random. A good part of a sensory diet, if you're doing an activity, is to make it like, if you can, make it like tracking an object. Because then I'm working on concentration, I'm working on attention, and that actually helps me regulate. If I have an object to follow, like if I'm picking up those big heavy balls and I'm throwing them at a target, right? It's kind of an objective. Or maybe I'm throwing one ball to the next, one hand to the next, and now I'm incorporating some bilateral coordination. I'm just making it a little bit more athletic. If you can, if not, just getting the weight is good anyway. All right, good job, boys. All right, Freeze, I'm gonna have you do this one. Okay, go. Good job, Willie. Here. So I'm gonna have them sit and do some more stuff. I'm gonna have them sit on. Hey, lucky kid, wiggle quick. Here you go. Here you go, Willie. You sit on that one. Reggie, sit on the. You can stand on it. So having, anytime I'm having them do something, you guys can sit. Anytime I'm having them do anything, I try to have them sit on like an unstable surface or something that gives them input. Okay, because again, like they've been in school all day. In school, you sit at a desk for a long time. You're not getting a lot of physical input. So I'm looking for that. And I'm gonna know. I know my kids. I know what sets them off and what doesn't. So that goes back to like knowing your kid. So this is just some balloons I got from Fred Meyer. They're just really easy to blow up balloons. I like these. And again, no more or motor. Well, just do that one for now. Sure, buddy. So again, if it's too hard, these are pretty easy as opposed to like a regular balloon. A regular balloon is a little tougher. It can be a balloon though. But if it's too hard, then I have some pumpers. I got these free from some Bosa ball I bought a long time ago. But I mean, you can get these at the dollar store or whatever. They're just pumpers. So clearly that he might be tired. So I'm going to switch it from his mouth to this. Okay, put that on. Let me see you pump it up. Does it got hair on it? Yeah, try to not to give him balloons with hair on it.
My dog's hair is on it.
There you go. Here, well, if you don't want the hair, here, pump it up. We'll get it. And so I'm not doing oral motor, but again, I'm getting a lot of input to that squeeze. It's drawing their attention. It's fun. It's a good way to kind of get their focus. This is like a fidget. It's the same principle as a fidget. I've got busy hands. Maybe I'm sitting in a bean bag, or I'm in a quiet closet, or maybe even a swing. Is a good idea.
Awesome job, boys.
Yeah. So you can kind of see the energy level is coming down, as opposed to 5 minutes ago.
Or are we?
As you can all tell, Reggie seems to be the active one in the family.
Well, it's kind of the opposite around. Opposite. Reggie's the reader. Reggie likes to sit and read books, and then I have a ball over here. But yeah, they're both pretty active boys, so I do my best to keep them busy. So stuff.
Good job, Willie.
Stuff laying around the house. You're looking for ways to get input. How much time do we have, Jen?
We have about 12 minutes. If you want to let the boys go, we have some questions that I'd really like to deal with.
All right. Hey, boys. Blow your whistle up. Can you sit quietly? Yeah? All right. Willie, you want to go upstairs and see June? She's in the other room. Yeah, go show her. All right. Adios, buddy. Okay. Hope some of that stuff helped.
Okay. So what I want to get into is some of the questions that you guys have. Guys, if you have questions for me or Matt, please just type them out right now and let us know. I also want to let you know that we appreciate when you tell your friends about us, when you let us know in the commentation section. Let us know how we can help you, ask us questions. If you want to subscribe, just put the number 5 in our conversation and we will have you subscribe to our live shows. So let's get to some of these questions.
I see one that just popped out. Do you mind if I answer that one?
Go ahead.
So it says from Beth, my son's therapist says he doesn't qualify for a sensory diet. We all qualify for a sensory diet. All of us we have to take sensory breaks throughout the day. You don't really have to qualify to build a sensory diet for a person. I mean, if you have sensory needs, which we all do, then think about it. There is a reason you go to the gym, or you take a minute to yourself where you maybe you have some quiet time alone. That's part of your sensory diet. That's part of you taking a break. When it comes to kids, kids need certain times to move, to take breaks, to get to swing, to jump, to climb, to run, to blow bubbles, to get messy. That's part of their sensory diet. So, you can start looking at your kids' sensory needs and start building yourself if your therapist isn't on the same page, I guess.
Beth, go ahead and message me, and you and I will have some more conversation on how to build the diet, like with Matt's suggestions. And we'll actually look at ways to help your child because like Matt said, everyone needs a sensory diet. So let's work on you getting one for your child. Now I want to go up to Melinda Williams. She never looked at the why of things. And Matt, that was something you kind of got into earlier, was why our kids come home and they need this. She said that her son always comes home from school, kicks off his shoes, and heads straight for his trampoline. Now I know that he needs that wiggle out time.
Mhm.
Like you said, Matt, there is always a why to it. There's always the need for something. Some kids need more than others. And Melinda, I'm so happy that Matt could help you understand more on why your little guy needs that break.
So yeah, sensory needs, like I said, we all have sensory needs. We all come home and after work or after school, we need some sort of decrease of input or increase of input, right? Me, I like to go to the gym. It helps me feel good. Otherwise my brain's scrambled and I get cranky. That's a sensory need, right? When you're talking about so sensory needs are a spectrum, right? All people are a spectrum, and it's more multi-dimensional spectrum. It's not just a linear line. So when we especially when I'm dealing with sensory difficulties, and that includes people with autism on the autism spectrum, and definitely sensory processing disorder, then we need to be aware of how they process sensory input. Okay, so sometimes like we know the obvious ones, noises can be too loud, sight can be too loud, but also they can have difficulty with movement and textures, and how and that also includes regulating their emotions internally, or they don't know how they, if their stomach hurts, or if they're fast breathing or slow breathing. So just they don't understand how their sensory system really works. I mean, as best you can as a kid. So you help that a lot through movement, right? So a lot of kids, so your son comes home and jumps on the trampoline. Well, that vertical bouncing, I actually had a trampoline, I didn't bust it out, but that vertical bouncing, that kid's getting a ton of input. He's activating his vestibular system, and getting a lot of deep pressure, which is tactile, and also getting that internal, my muscles are using those joints are compressing, boom, boom. And that's helping his mind get organized. That was kind of a quick answer.
Right. And I just want to say, we all know that not everyone has a gym like Matt. Matt has hooks in his ceiling for his hanging equipment. Those of you in groups saw this week, I had Melinda, and I'm going to have her post it again later. Melinda actually bought a hammock hanger. It's trying to explain this. It's a bar on stands, and she can hang and actually use it in her house. I know Melinda well. Melinda, if you could post that in group later. But she can use her swings indoors hooked up to this hammock hanging device. And if you have enough space, that works. If you have a backyard where you don't have enough room for a full swing set, that also works well.
So yeah, if you have the ability to hang a swing, and that's something you see that it helps your kid, yeah, figure out a way to hook it up. If you don't have a swing, again, what is the swing doing? It's getting that input to the vestibular system, which is in my head. So maybe you have a rocking chair, or maybe kids can jump up and down on the couch. Maybe they can do barrel rolls round and round on the floor, or maybe you drag them around like I was just showing in a sheet. It's nice to have all this equipment, but equipment costs money, and if you don't have the ability, and also a swing. I mean, if you can see, I don't know if you can see it. That's a big deal to hook all this up, right? That took a lot of time and hardware and know-how to kind of hook all this up. But it doesn't have to be this. This is great. If you can get that, fantastic. If not, there's think about the principle of it. Is the vestibular input vestibular input is moving on my head. If kids like that deep squeeze, okay, well, jump and crash on a beanbag. Right, you're getting a lot of tactile. Yes. Not now, but not now.
And if you don't have a beanbag, couch cushions, big stuffed animals like Matt showed everyone with the big teddy bear. He threw that on the floor and they jumped into that. Anything soft, pillows, just find something soft and kind of do what Matt did and throw it all together and build a crash area for your kid. And that'll really get that out.
And maybe, I'm kind of being specific today because my kids just came home from school, but maybe it's not a lot of active input. Maybe it's just like, I have a weighted blanket here. Maybe I just chuck the kid in a corner and with some noise canceling headphones, which my son threw outside in the woods. But maybe it's that, and there's less input, and it's just no talking, and it's a time, a good 20, 30 minutes, maybe it's an hour of just quiet time. They have a book, they have a fidget or something to kind of, I'm here, I'm just here, and it gets me present, not a screen, not yes sir.
Can we watch a little bit of a movie on the VR?
Not right now. Oh, with Miss June? Go ahead. Yes. I just said no screens, and I just said go watch some screens. We have a house guest. I don't have a lot of screens here, but that's okay. That's a whole other topic. I pick and choose my battles. Right?
You got to as a parent. Now, Melissa Cox says that her son typically comes home after school and wants to bounce off the walls, but there are times he just needs his weighted lap pads and lots of compressions or hard hugs.
There you
we
go.
took it out of sensory gym. And Matt, we just discussed that sometimes it's not that big movements. It's that tight, closed, quiet.
Yeah. I see indoor ideas for climbing. So climbing, I think of that as kind of, it could be a couple things, but when I climb, I'm getting traction. I'm pulling. All right, I'm feeling that pull. I'm fighting gravity. So think of ways maybe they can hold on to something. You drag them around on the floor or on a scooter board outside on the driveway or across the smooth kitchen floor or whatever. Or they pull something. So there's that traction piece. That probe. I'm pulling. I'm pushing, and also kids like to climb because it's very visual. It's cool to climb up really high and see things. It gives me a different perspective, and it makes this difficult things. If I'm a kid, I'm kind of down and everything's really giant, and I don't get the whole picture. But when I'm up high, I see it's all one. It's all the parts make a whole, and that is comfortable to me. So maybe you, I don't know, I wouldn't say climb your roof, but I don't know, put the kid on your shoulders or something. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's a combination of both, or maybe yeah.
We use the ladder on her bunk bed set. She'll climb up and down the ladder.
Yeah. Bunk beds, man. That's an easy one. There's lots to do with the bunk bed.
Oh yeah, trust me. I think she's figured out everything. You know how there's bars on the bunk beds on the top bunk? She'll lay on the bottom bunk and hook her toes in her hands, and she'll just pull herself up. She really uses those bars to her advantage every day. Now, Maria, I know you wish you had a sensory gym in your home, but like Matt said, you can take household items and make your own sensory area. And it's simple. You can turn your living room into a sensory area after school time. Pull the couch cushions off the couch, throw them in a pile with pillows, and have another area where, yes, Matt had the weighted medicine balls, but if you don't, you could use, I've seen one lady say that she'd make her kids stack cans, like large cans.
Yeah. And there's a lot of ideas online as well. A good friend of mine, Alex Piccolo, runs a company called Sensory Digest, and he installs sensory gyms in the home. But if you go on his webpage, you'll see like a lot of people's living rooms. It's great examples of like what people do in their living rooms or their bedrooms with swings and stuff like that to make it a little more sensory friendly. Sensory Digest, it's called.
I've actually seen a number of parents that have gotten rid of their children's bed and put a trampoline because they needed that constant movement while sleeping.
Sure.
So let's go down to, we dealt with Beth. Now, bringing awareness is something Matt is passionate about. If you've seen a show with Matt, he's always very passionate about sensory awareness and getting this out and helping your children. Jennifer Robinson. My daughter stims a lot, but she likes to have things in her hands. Matt, you probably see that a lot.
Yeah. So having things in your hands, right? I mean, so maybe they like to fidget. Maybe they just like to have that because they're going to get some input. It can also be kind of a defense where if I'm walking around and I have an object in my hand, I don't need to engage the world with my palms of my hand, which are extremely sensitive. So, if I have this in my hand, I'm not going to accidentally touch something or brush up against something, or this is kind of a defense. So, it's an indicator that maybe it's a tactile thing. So maybe there's some tactile sensitivities there. In which case, using deep pressure is a good way to go about that, or experimenting with different tactile play where trying to get the skin exposed of your body to as many different textures as possible in a fun way, keeping it in a positive, not forcing them to like touch the burlap. It's not gonna that
Right.
doesn't work like that. But doing things through play and experimenting and so having things in your hands could be a kind of a defense mechanism. Or
don't forget, we have the marble maze, folks, where you can get that. You push it through. Yep.
I love it.
And you can get that movement, and there's focus, but there's also that movement and trying to get the marble through. Some kids will struggle at first because it is hard. So let's go to, my son likes to dig holes. He has dug a ditch about the length of a car and 12 inches deep. What else could he do? I'm not liking the holes. Honestly, let me tell you guys a funny story. So my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law have this gated area in their yard. And for years they have considered putting in a koi pond. So what did they do when our children drive us nuts at family events? We send them out with shovels and they dig. And my son is 5'11", and over the course of about 2 years, they have now dug the hole so that it almost completely is to my son's height, which is 5'11". So yes, I understand the digging holes. We do it because it gets them out of our hair. And it's something that all of the children can do together. They range from 3 to 15. Yeah, he's 15. So digging holes for me is not a big deal. Matt, do you have any ideas other than the digging holes?
I go back to what's he getting out of it. So, I mean, when I'm digging holes, I'm picking up all that weight. That's a lot of heavy work. He's probably seeking some input that way. Digging holes, I never thought about that. It'd be a great way to get some heavy work in. Maybe it's also a tactile thing. Maybe he likes the dirt getting on him. It's probably probably a really good activity. But at the same time, you don't want your yard to look like Bugs Bunny just ripped through there. So, looking for other ways for him to get that input. So if he's seeking to pick up that heavy work, try to incorporate some different kinds of heavy work throughout the day where he's picking up some weight or moving weight or climbing or stacking chairs or carrying the milk jugs through the store, stuff like that. It's
lifting dog food. I've seen someone actually lift 50 pounds of dog food because it is heavy enough for them because they're bigger.
Yeah. So yeah, if you don't want to come up with activities and if you can activities like gymnastics and wrestling, jiu-jitsu, those are sports that I like to recommend because if they can handle a group setting, because they're getting so much input. It's not like soccer or baseball where you're just kind of out in space, but I physically have to like resist. There's a lot of resistance involved. So think resistive activities. Maybe he likes working out. Maybe if you got some weights, pump some iron with him. See if that helps.
Now, Rose asks, any help with running? My son loves to run all day. He'll be running into the walls.
So my experience with running is I feel like a lot of times it's the kids just don't have a lot of body awareness. And so that's that's a lot. I use this analogy a lot. So think of if I'm driving. So you ever drive in a car and you go down a hill really quick and your stomach goes whoop, right? That feeling of weightlessness. So that's what not having a lot of body awareness might feel like a lot of the day. So I just it could be that. So when I'm running, maybe I'm getting a lot of pounding to my legs, or I'm impulsive. That could be part of the impulsivity. If it's getting in the way of things, try looking at some of the other sensory stuff that he either avoids or gravitates to. If it's not in the way of things, that run away. It's a good activity. It's a good exercise. He's getting a lot of input. But if it gets in the way of things, like if it's constant and he's taking off through the parking lot, stuff like that, maybe try giving him a weighted vest or doing some other sensory strategies. If he has an OT, talk to them or anyone else working with the kid that knows him.
Now, Amber, I actually know Amber and her daughter personally. Her daughter and Riley are dear friends. How to handle a child with high pain tolerance and protect them from knowing it's dangerous. For example, her daughter started biting herself. Matt, that goes back to the oral, does it not?
It could. When I'm biting something, I'm getting a lot of input to my jaw, but also, it goes back to, I would look at the antecedent as well. Is it a stim? Is it something is there anxiety causing that? And if that can be it as well. If I'm anxious, then that's when the stimming comes. If I'm uncomfortable in my body, stimming can happen. And biting is a form of stimming because it can be a way to kind of help reduce the anxiety. It sounds strange, but biting myself helps me kind of connect for a minute.
Amber, come on over to my house. You know where I live. We've got jewelry that we've been using for Riley because she's been biting herself. Let's see if that helps Haven at all. Now, she has another question. They've tried different types of redirecting the sensory behavior, but she's staying with things that aren't exactly productive. Instead, it's more of what causes the meltdown.
I'm not sure what you mean by it's. Oh, is this the same? The biting question?
Same mother, different question.
We've also tried different types of redirecting sensory. So
honestly,
okay.
I don't think there's really a sensory input that's not productive.
Well, I mean, it's some things can make me feel uncomfortable. Like,
right.
I don't like think of like nails on a chalkboard. That's sensory. That drives me. Nobody likes.
You just said that, and my husband cringed beside me.
That's a sensory issue, right? Or I'm erasing with a pencil and it scratches. Oh my god, it scratches the paper. I don't know why it makes me feel gross. I don't know why.
Have anyone ever seen the videos on Facebook where they put the baby's feet on the grass for the first time, and most of the babies flip their feet up and they're like, "Nope, not doing this." That for them is a negative sensory input.
To help with the biting, that'd be when somebody would have to work closely one-on-one and see. Get some of the sensory information of it's a tough one because it's why is she biting herself?
Amber, let's talk more about this later because I think there's more to it. I know your story, so we actually live in the same town. Let's get together and talk one day. Now let's go to yes, Jason or Matt.
I was saying sorry if I didn't help with that one. Yeah, I mean, part of it could, if it's during an anxiety, like if it's a reaction to something that's anxiety. So finding ways to reduce that anxiety. So, maybe it's reducing your language or giving her different sensory input throughout the day and being more proactive in that way. When, it's like anybody else, when we get stressed out, when I get stressed out, I snap at my kids. It's not ideal. I don't want to do that, but it's like, I can't help it, we all do that. Our level tolerance is maxed out, and we just boom. We all have our things. My friend bites his nails till they're down to his nubs.
Yep.
I guess that's biting. Sure.
Now we have one last question from Jennifer. My daughter likes to sleep with her brother, but sometimes he likes to sleep alone, but she will go to wherever he goes to sleep. Would a weighted blanket help her sleep without her brother. I went through this personally. It wasn't her brother, it was me and her father. She didn't get out of our bed until August of this year, and she was 7. We tried weighted blankets. We tried everything. It was just, it came with maturity.
Yeah. Is she, is she 5? Is she 14? How old's the kid? If, as a young age, yeah, that could be something. It's nice to have someone to sleep next to. It's comforting. If their brother's familiar, it could be just an emotional thing. Or if it's a sensory thing, it could just, again, it could be you could try a weighted blanket, see if that works, or also a lycra, tubular lycra around the mattress, and they squeeze in between there if the weighted blanket's too hot. Kid's 9. If both parties are not sleeping, then I would try some of the weighted stuff and
well, like Jason said, his son still sleeps with him, and he's 9.
Yeah.
But I want you to remember, folks, that I'm a huge advocate of co-sleeping. My husband took some time to get on board. But in a lot of countries, co-sleeping or sleeping beside a family member is actually quite common. And they do it until the child is ready to move to their own space.
So, sorry, that just made me think of my youngest son, Willie, who slept with us often. And that was a long time I slept on the couch because I couldn't do it. My wife had no problem with it, but he just wiggles like a maniac. So, but what I started doing was swinging him before bedtime. And that seemed to help him sleep a little deeper. So just gentle rocking. We had some tubular lycra. I'd swing him, and that seemed to help. And then I don't do that anymore, and he doesn't come into my bed anymore. So once in a while, when he's sick.
But like Jason says, in Asian countries especially, it is very common to co-sleep. So you have that. Now, unfortunately, Matt, we have gone way over, like we always do for some reason when you're here. Melissa, I just wanted to address you real quick before we end the show. I co-sleep. My 9-year-old sleeps with us in the same room, but he's neurotypical and still wants to sleep with me, and the babies co-sleep at 4.5, and the twins are 2. Melissa, that must be one very active room. My sister co-slept with all of her children, and I remember there was a time where she had her now 3-year-old and her now 5-year-old both in the bed from the time they were both babies. So she had a 2-year-old and a newborn, and that was extremely stressful. But again, it's not uncommon for a lot of families to co-sleep, especially now. Deborah, your grandson's issue does not seem to be sensory. It seems to be more of a control issue. So please PM me or post in group, and we will deal with that.
Oh, is that the
bedwetting or wedding? Yes.
I look at everything as a sensory issue. It definitely when things are out of control, kids are going to control the things that they can. Eating and going to the restroom. Those are easy things. Like a lot of kids will hold that in. And I don't know anything about your kid, but start looking at, okay, so if there is a control issue, what is it? What is out of control? Why is the kid trying to control it? Because he's not getting away? Is it or
giving him options? Do you want to do this or this?
And there's tons of behavior strategies. Absolutely, tons of behavior strategies. But you can also, try some of the sensory strategies to see if those help. So maybe it isn't a control thing. So a lot of times what seems like on purpose to us is not on purpose at all to kids. They just react. It's not a conscious thought.
Right.
It could very well be, but I always kind of look at through the lens as the kid is not making a choice. It is a can't. They can't do it. So that gives me the fix it mindset. I'm going to do my best to kind of look at the problem as to why they're doing that. So yeah, maybe you want to try some weighted blankets or working on core strength is a way to kind of help with because the pelvic floor is the muscle that, and kind of all these muscles around our pelvis and our core kind of help with that holding in the urine and everything else. So strengthening that can help, or giving a lot of input. I'll have a kid on their back and I'll put the yoga ball on top called the belly button, and that's kind of getting a lot of input to that area that kind of help wake that up and to give more awareness to that part of my body. Things like that, just try some different sensory strategies, and if it's still happening, then maybe it is behavior.
Now, I'm sorry, guys, we have run way over. Don't worry. If you have questions, I will be posting later in group, and you can ask all the questions you want on that thread. Matt will be back with us next week, and it will be pure question and answers, getting out all of these things and whatnot. So if you have not joined our Facebook group, Jason has just posted the link to our Facebook group. Please join there. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Matt, especially you. If you want to tell us about your gym.
Sure. If you want to go to my webpage and have a look at some of the things I'm doing, it's sensoryfitness.org. I do have a blog, which I haven't written in a while, but that's ongoing. And I'm also announcing that I've begun some, it's called Sensory Foundation classes to purchase on Vimeo, and it's affordable. It's a series of classes to kind of get into the depth of sensory and what that means, and also a lot of the stuff that we were talking about. It's I've not activated it yet. I'm still in the process of editing. I'm terrible at the web piece of it. I don't know what I'm doing. I got someone else working on that, but yeah, it's coming out in a couple weeks. I'm excited about it, and I'll let everyone know when it's out and where to get it and how to do it.
Now, if you notice in the conversation part, Jason has put the link for Sensory Fitness. So again, I want to thank you all for joining us. If you want to subscribe to live updates, please type the number 5 in our chat section now. And don't forget, we have the parent support group, and we'd love to have you join. Also, check out our sensory deal group. Have an amazing week. We will see you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, where Matt and I will be answering your questions live. Until then, remember, embrace, support, and educate. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.